up, fools? I'm Van, and today I'm Van-splaining on one of the unwritten rules of baseball. If a guy hits a home run and he pimps it out, does he deserve to get drilled the next time he's up? As always, like, subscribe, hit me up in the comments. You got something funny to send me? Send it to vansplaining2024@gmail.com. And as always, this episode is brought to you by my daughter's bracelet. Okay, let's get into it real quick. So, guy comes up to the plate, hits a bomb home run, and he does this thing. And then he takes his time, maybe does a little one flap down around the bag. A couple innings later, he comes up. Should the pitcher drill him for it? That is the question I want to explore because I'm seeing both sides of the issue and I got a take, and I want to go there right now. First off, I see you, Mr. Old School, going, these guys are getting paid $1 million a year to play a child's game. They ought to pay their... Let's get something clear real quick. Baseball was never a child's game. Baseball was invented by grown men for grown men to play, and they started paying grown men to play it, and later women, because it was entertaining for adults. Children eventually started playing the game because it looked like a lot of fun, but it never started off as a children's game. You want to talk children's game, Bulky? Freeze tag. Freeze tag is a children's game. Now, when you show me the professional freeze tag league, that's when you'll make your point. But until then, no, this is not a children's game. It never was a children's game, and it never will be a children's game because it had its origins in adult entertainment. That's point. Somebody will say, well, when a guy hits a home run, he should act like he's been there before. He just hit the home run and run the bases with his head down and just get the home plate and just don't show the pitcher up. But I'd like to think about that for a minute. First off, hitting a home run is extremely difficult. In fact, most people will tell you the hardest thing to do in sport is to hit a round ball with a round bat. And if you can hit one all the way out of the park, what, you're not supposed to feel some kind of way about it? You're supposed to be embarrassed? Like, oh, there it goes. I guess I'm just going to run around the base with my head down and hope nobody notices. Sorry. That makes sense to you. If I hit a home run right now, I might run the bases backwards. That is an amazing achievement. And if you can do it more once, it's even more amazing because that means you're good at it. Think about it. Reggie Jackson once said this: it's easy to hit 500 home runs a year. All you got to do is hit 20 home runs a year for 25 years. Or if you're a self-starter, hit 25 home runs a year for 20 years. Simple, which is why so many people have done it, or maybe not. And no, I don't want to hear from you, mister, but they use steroids. I'm going to get to you in a minute. I have not forgotten about you at all. I will get to you in due time. But the fact of the matter is this: hitting a home run is difficult. Getting proficient at it is extremely difficult. So act like you've been there before? No. This is one of them times you get to celebrate the fact that, look, at most, in 162 games, one guy hit 73 of them. That's it. That's as many as ever been done in a single season. This is hard. To be able to do it repeatedly requires a level of skill most of us can't even comprehend. So if it's me, yeah, I'm going to be happy I did it every time I did it. Which brings me to my next point. Why aren't we talking about pitchers celebrating after a strikeout? You don't see hitters charging a man with the bat in their hands ready to go after him whenever a pitcher gets a K on a piece of frozen pizza. No. When you see a batter get struck out looking, and the pitcher goes, But the batter's just supposed to, okay, he got me. What, the batter don't have the same right to attack the pitcher that the pitcher does to attack the batter? I ain't trying to hear that. And again, people will say, act like you've been there before. This is professional sport. You can't play it without emotion. If you don't show emotion, you're not going to draw the fans in. I mean, showing exuberance after doing something good is what brings fans to the field. It's what we want to see. You make a great catch, you see it all the time. The guy holds the ball up. You make a great play, he slides into second base, dusts himself off. He's good, okay? These kinds of things are what make us want to watch the game, and is what makes us love the players that play because their joy translates to our joy. So no, I don't want robo pitchers who throw strike three, turn the cap, walk away to first base. And I don't want hitters that hit home runs and act like they've done some terrible thing and just embarrassingly scoot around the bases. I want to see people that are happy to do it. I want more Jose Bautista, Joey Bats, baby. I want flips. I want spins. I want him pimping that bad boy all the way around the bases. Now, somebody's going to try to get at me in comments and say, well, you clearly don't know the history of the game. If you knew how the game was played, if you knew the history of the game, you know they got to do it the right way, and that's how the history of the game goes. Okay, let's talk about the history of the game, shall we? I know the history of the game very well. I know a guy that played for the Cubs. His name is Cap Anson, is in the Hall of Fame, and he's the reason why there was an unofficial ban on black players in the major leagues until 1947. That's history. I also know Mr. Oh, but they used steroids in the 1990s. I know that most of those major leaguers that you loved to laud from the 60s were using amphetamines like they were candy in your grandmother's candy jar. What do you think made Lou Brock run that fast? Maybe a little greenie? Maybe a little mother's little helper? Don't get me started on history. So let's talk about history for a moment, shall we? People want to get mad about a guy pimping home runs after the fact. Can we talk about a guy that pimped a home run before and after the fact? Oh, yes. I am talking about none other than George Herman Ruth, aka the Babe, the Sultan of SWAT, the King of Swing, the big guy himself in the 1932 World Series against my Chicago Cubs, which apparently got a little testy. Both sides were chirping at each other pretty good during that game, to the point that when Ruth came to bat, and I don't know which game, Google it, you'll look it up, make me look smarter. Ruth came up to bat, and there is some debate about what I'm about to call the called shot. We all have heard of it if you're a baseball fan. The part where Babe Ruth is standing at the plate, takes the bat, points it out to the field, and during that at bat, actually hits a home run. Now, the circumstances leading up to that were this. Once again, the Cubs and the Yankees were really jawing at each other during the game. And when Babe Ruth came up, the Cubs dugout was giving it to him. Some historians will say that when Ruth was at bat, he had the bat in his hand, he was just gesticulating. Others, however, would tell you he told him, you brought the thunder, now you got it. And he pointed that stick out to the field, and the next thing you know, bam, brought the thunder down. And you can see it in the tape as he's rounding the bases, he's looking over at the Cub dugout, and he's still giving it to him as he's rounding third base. He pimped that home run before and after he hit it. If it's good enough for George Herman Ruth, the sainted Babe, then it is good enough for my guys on the Cubs to do the same thing right now in 2024. So no, I don't want to hear from you guys saying, play the right way, keep that. No, this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. And one more thing, nobody should have to die for a home run. And this brings me to my last point. When you hurl a baseball at somebody's head at over 80 miles an hour, you could kill them. Think about former Red Sox player Tony Conigliaro, affectionately known as Tony C. He got drilled in the head. Maybe it was an accident. Doesn't matter. The result is it ended his playing career and it almost ended his life. There was a player who was killed by a baseball back before they insisted on new baseballs because the old one was so brown and scuffed up, he couldn't see it in the growing dark, and it hit him in the head and it killed him. There is no way you can justify to me that a guy hitting a home run and celebrating it deserves a death sentence the next time he comes up. Are you going to say, oh, he could have thrown it at his leg? No. Okay, there's all kind of bad things that can happen to you if you hit a guy in the leg, hit him in the back, hit him in the arm. No, it's not worth injuring a man and also ruining his ability to make a living at this game, to throw at him deliberately and possibly hurt him in a way that he can't play baseball anymore. That will not make sense to me now. It will never make sense to me tomorrow. And that's a stupid argument to ever make. Now, throwing at a guy for hitting a home run is one of the most childish responses I've ever heard to that thing. I am not saying, however, that pitchers cannot be intimidators. I grew up watching baseball too, and I know that for some pitchers, owning the inside part of the plate is what made them effective. And that means sometimes you got to come far enough inside to make that batter think twice about leaning in. It doesn't mean you're hunting heads. It does mean, however, you're advising the batter, stick that head out there a little bit longer, and you might not like what happens to your chin, or you might not like what happens to your elbow, or you might not like what happens to your lead leg. The point is this: if batters can crowd the plate with impunity, if they can just lean out over the plate all they want to, they're going to be able to turn on fastballs all day. You got to put a little fear in them. You got to pitch inside, make a back off, give yourself a little room to work. That part of the game I understood. This is why we respect guys like Don Drysdale, Bob Gibson, Randy Johnson, Fergie Jenkins. Greg Maddux even threw inside, and he threw tennis ball pitches for the most part. He wasn't throwing hard, but he also made you understand, get on top of that plate if you want to. The next one's going to come right underneath your elbow pad. I get that. That is healthy, hardcore competition. Nothing wrong with that one bit, just like taking out a guy on a slide at second to avoid a double play. That's healthy, hardcore competition. Nothing wrong with that. But deliberately headhunting a guy, I'm never going to be a fan of that. So to wrap up, once again, guy pimps a home run. Maybe the pitcher shouldn't find the fat part of his bat the next time. Maybe the pitcher should execute a better pitch and make that guy go sit down. How about that for an idea? Which leads me to one final story, and I'm sure you've seen it on the internet, and I love telling the story. Willie Mays talks about facing Satchel Paige. And the first time Satchel Paige faced him, he threw him a kind of a breaking ball, something over the plate, and Mays turned on it, and it went a far way. As Mays is rounding the bases, Satchel Paige asked the third baseman who that little boy is. And the third baseman said, that's Willie Mays. Satchel Paige said, you tell me when that little boy comes up again. The next time Willie Mays comes up, Satchel Paige tells him, I'm going to throw you 3 fastballs, and you're going to go sit down. Willie Mays said in his mind, he's thinking, you show me 3 fastballs? I don't think so. One of them is going to go far, far away. Well, Satchel Paige threw him 3 fastballs that Mays never saw. And on the last fastball he threw him, he said, go sit down, little boy. That's how you handle a home run hitter. You strike him out and you keep it moving. Thanks, guys. Once again, like, subscribe, hit me up in the comments. And like I say before, and I'll say it again, if there's cheese on the mountain, bring crackers.